Sunday, October 17, 2010. Anyhow, I'm back working on the car today. I got out here a little later than I would have originally wanted. I had some difficulty posting an item to Craigslist, and it took a lot longer than it should. And today I'm back working on the car. The last thing I was talking about was sealing off some of the pinholes with the roofing tar. And you can see there's one of the areas right there that I did yesterday. And excuse that squeak, I'm knocking something over here. Just want to... There. Now it's not going to fall over. Anyhow, here's one of the areas, and there's a couple more areas inside the car here. Let me just grab my light so I can show you that. Just the area up there, and that's pretty much all metal there. Just because of the multitude of seams right in that area, I decided just to go over that with the tar just to be sure. And right here there was some pinholes by the seat mount, and then a couple back here. Anyhow, one thing I didn't count on was the curing time for that stuff. After I applied it, kind of as an afterthought, I went inside last night and started Googling the curing time or drying time for this stuff, because I know it will dry and it will, be perfectly dry, and it'll be rubbery, and I know that it's made to, withstand. It's guaranteed to withstand 10 years of weather on a roof. So I figured that it would be pretty good stuff to use on a floor here, especially if I put an additional coat of something else over it for protection. And like I said, I was up on the roof last weekend, and I saw the stuff which I applied months ago, and it's perfect now. And it never occurred to me that this stuff would have a really long curing time. I came out here today and touched it. It's not wet on the surface, but it definitely is not cured yet. It's still really moist and really malleable. So I didn't want to spray anything over that yet and seal it in. I want to give it time to cure on its own, which could be days or weeks or longer. So I'm not going to count this one as a failure, but it's definitely a setback. It's definitely going to delay this a little bit. I mean, as such, I won't be able to spray everything with undercoating today. So knowing that's what it was, I came out here today to do the fiberglassing, which was my original plan for all of this pinhole stuff. But you live, you learn. Anyhow, there's one spot right there, which looks like it was a screw hole or something for something at one time, and I don't know what. I really don't remember there being a screw there for anything, even though there might have been. So I fiberglassed over that just to seal it. And, worst case scenario, if I, did just seal off a... sorry, just get back on that. If I did seal off a hole for something there, I can always go right back through it. It's just a single layer of fiberglass. And then back here, that was a hole where there was some sort of a really small rubber plug that didn't survive removal, so I'm just sealing that off. And I put this floor plug back in, which, being that it's 40 years old, the rubber tore slightly when I removed it. So what I did today was I cleaned it up very, very carefully. Heated it up with the heat gun to make it a little more pliable, reinstalled it, and then I just coated it with a layer of RTV silicone. So once that dries, it will be a solid piece of rubber again. So, getting back outside the car here for a moment. Right there's another spot there on the inner fender, which I fiberglassed over. And of course you can still see through it, but once I have that primed it and undercoated, you'll never know that was there. And here was a non-structural bit on this piece of bracing right here. There was a little hole there and a little hole on the other side where basically dirt had gotten trapped in here. Had come in from above and had gotten trapped in there and caused a slight rust out there. So it's got a nice heavy coating of rust encapsulator, and now it's got that. So once again, once that's done, you'll never know it was there. And there were a couple spots underneath the car. Let me grab the light again, and I'll show you though. So yeah, there was this spot right here and the one behind it. These I couldn't see from above because there's another piece of metal there, but I once again sprayed it copiously with the rust encapsulator, and now it's got the fiberglass on it, which once it's dry I can prime that and undercoat it. Then back up here, that's that rubber plug there I just showed you from above. I'm just trying to zoom in on that. And this fiberglass over, you can see where the tar had come through. And these were the non-structural holes. So once this is all done, you're never going to know this was here. And this stuff really doesn't affect strength of anything, which is why I didn't want to bother with the metal. And just to show you what I did yesterday up front here, this here is the accelerator mount, which I finally fastened to the floor, and I finally gave everything a coating of primer, so it's actually a little harder to make out everything here. I mean, you can see these are the patches I did, which, you know, once the tar is nice and dry, this is all ready for some undercoating. And then once the undercoating is dry, I bought this stuff here. If I can get a better shot of that without the reflection. This is once again roofing stuff, but what this is specifically, it's a wide piece of rubber with an adhesive back. And what this is going to do is replace the factory sound insulation, and once again just provide another layer of protection to the floor underneath the carpeting. Now, I used something very similar to this in my last Mercedes project, and it worked out pretty well. And just one other final thought here on the tar. I mean, people have been, you know, using tar for their amateur car repairs for decades now, and you know, of course, it's not what a professional would use, but just as an anecdote here, the factory sound insulation, which I removed from the car, you know, months ago, I had to take that up with a heat gun. And when I was loosening it, I mean, it really seemed to have some sort of an asphalt and/or tar component to it. So, I mean, it was some kind of a tar board. So I don't feel too bad about using this stuff here. You know, because it just, I don't know, my instincts tell me it's not too far off from what might have been in here originally. Of course, I'm probably wrong about that. I'm not the engineer who designed the car. But anyhow, like I said, once this is all dry, the undercoating goes down. Once that's dry, the rubber. And I probably won't put carpeting down right away because I want to. I'm seriously considering painting the door jamb here. I kind of had second thoughts about that today. I know I talked about it yesterday, but there's actually not too much here in this side of the door jamb where it's really apparent. I'm just going to open the rear door here. Is right here. And I may or may not even do that. I mean, it's I'm just on the fence about it at this point. I suppose probably when I get a little closer to paint, I'll maybe make a decision on that. I still may dismount the door for door repair. Same with this one. I think the only two panels I might not take off the car completely may be the trunk lid here and the the hood and the trunk lid. You can see here. I'm just going to zoom in on this. This is how the paint is on the whole car, which is why I'm painting it. This was my estimate is this car has been painted at least 3 times. Now, the first time was at the factory when it was new, and I found a whole bunch of evidence of overspray all over the car, which suggests that the car had a full repaint at some point in its original color, which was this dark maroon right here. See if I can just get a close-up on that. And then at some point it had this black paint job, which I guess was a Mako job or something like that. I don't know if this was done by the original owner or owner number 2, but by the time I got to the car, I mean, the paint was in this kind of severely deteriorated condition. And normally I would not buy a car like this, but like I said, this car, even though it's not valuable, there just aren't really... There's so few of these of this model here left in the Northeast that it's just going to be kind of a novelty. And the mechanical parts are very similar to other Mercedes I have, so I'm not worried about being able to work on it, not in the least. See here, the engine's all covered in various junk, but the 615 motor here, very, very similar to the 616 and 617 motors I'm accustomed to working on. So, anyhow, work continues. My hope is that maybe by next weekend this stuff will have solidified, and then I can maybe start doing the final, prepping, priming, painting, and undercoating of all this stuff here. Originally, I was going to tar over both sides of all the repairs, but now knowing how long this stuff is taking to dry here, I'm having second thoughts about that. So, anyhow, that's where things are at the moment, and hopefully I will have even better stuff to show you next week. Just one more brief note here. It occurred to me just after I took the last video what this hole here in the floor was for. There is a plastic heater duct which hooks under the dashboard, if I can just show you, right here, and gets secured through this screw hole. This one right here in the floor, which having trouble focusing on right now, that I have to go back through again. And this one right here. This other one over here I covered with a little bit of seam sealer, so that shouldn't be too hard to deal with, but it just occurred to me after I took the video that that's what that was for. So I'm going to have everything bagged and tagged, but everything's been apart for so long I forgot this was here. So anyhow, I have... since the fiberglass was still wet, I just put on a fresh rubber glove and I just peeled it off and threw it in the garbage, that one particular piece right there. So once this remaining resin is dried, it's just a matter of priming it, and that's all there is. So just wanted to update everybody on that. I guess that's one of the pitfalls of doing this sort of thing over a long period of time and without a repair manual. Sometimes you make mistakes, and, well, that was one of them.